This is section 5.1, Rules for Exponents. This chapter is mostly about how to combine terms or how to multiply things, divide things if they have exponents. You can see there's a bunch of rules here, the zero exponent, product rule, power to a power. I'm not going to quiz you on these individually. Sometimes you'll have to use these rules kind of together, but you do need to be familiar with these. So these are good rules to write down with some examples. I'll be going through examples that use these rules and I'll point out when they do. So starting with the zero rule, this is kind of the weirdest one. It says if you raise something to the zero power, you get 1. I'm not going to go into this video right now why that is, but I should talk about it in class, so you can ask me anytime. But basically, you take a number and you raise it to the 0 power, you get 1. So 7 to the 0 is definitely equal to 1. Now there's some subtleties here. 3x to the 0. One of the biggest things you have to remember in this section, or in this chapter, is that exponents only apply to what they're right next to. So only the x is being raised to the 0 power. So 3x to the 0 is actually going to be 3 times 1. Because the 3 stays, nothing's happening to the 3, the x to the 0 becomes 1 though. And obviously 3 times 1 is just 3. Now, on the other hand, over here, because this whole thing is in parentheses, everything is being raised to the 0 power. So automatically everything is just going to become 1. So I like problems like this because they look big and scary, but the whole thing just becomes 1. Here we're going to use our product rule. It says when you multiply the same bases, like an x, and x, you add up all the exponents. One important thing is not all exponents are drawn, right? If you don't see an exponent, everything has an exponent, but if you don't see one, it is automatically 1. So what we're going to do here is take our x and just add up all the powers. 2 plus 3 plus 1, that should give us 6. So this whole thing becomes x to the 6th power. Same idea down here, except we have some numbers as well. So all we're going to do is treat our numbers normally, 2 times 5, and then we'll use that product rule on our x's. So 2 times 5 is 10. For our x's, remember we add the powers. 6 plus 2 gives us 8. So there's our answer. Lastly here, we have a minus here, so we're going to have to start by distributing the x to the third to each piece. So when you take the x to the third, you multiply it by the 4x. First of all, this 4 is just along for the ride, so we're going to have a 4. When you multiply the x's, x to the third times x, don't forget there's an invisible 1 there. We're adding the powers, right? 3 plus 1 gives us x to the 4th. That's the first part. That is, remember, this piece multiplied by this piece. Now we have to do this piece multiplied by this piece. So I'm going to put in a minus. Now there are no numbers, so we're going to go straight to the x's. We have the x to the third, x to the second. 3 plus 2 gives us 5. And there we go. One thing to point out here is, remember, you can't add things that are not like terms. So we can't combine x to the 4th with x to the 5th with subtraction or addition. There's no way we can do it, so this is actually our final answer. Here we have what's called the power to a power rule. We have x to the third, but we're raising it to another power outside parentheses. That rule says we multiply the powers. So this time, 3 times 2 is going to give us x to the 6th. Now, same idea down here, except we're going to combine a couple rules. There's also a rule that says if you have multiple things in parentheses all being raised to the power, you can take that power and apply it to each thing separately, almost like the distributive property. So what that looks like here is 3, which by the way has the power 1. We're going to multiply that 1 by the 3 on the outside. Right, this is power to the power again, just for the 3. So 1 times 3 is 3, so we get 3 to the third. And then for our x's, we have x squared. Again, power to a power, we're going to multiply 2 times 3 and get x to the 6th. Now, whenever you have a number like 3 to the third, we can actually simplify that. So you should. 3 to the third, 3 times 3 is 9, 9 times 3 is 27. So that'll be 27x to the 6th is our final answer. And again, similarly, this one's with a fraction rather than a product, but same thing. We have a fraction, it's being raised to a power. The rule says you can take the power and apply it to the top, and take the power and apply it to the bottom separately. So don't forget, we're multiplying exponents, right? Because we have the power on the outside of parentheses, we're going to multiply 4 times 3 and 4 times the power of 1. So on top we get x to the 12th. That's our 4 times 3. And on the bottom we get 2 to the 4th. Again, just like last time, we should be able to figure out what 2 to the 4th is. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, that should be 16, if I did my arithmetic right. And there's our answer. Alright, so lastly, we're just going to put a bunch of these rules together. Up here, we're going to start by taking the power on the outside, putting it on the a and the 2, power on the outside, a and the 3, and then we'll work on combining our a's and our numbers. So our first step will look like this. We'll have 2 to the second power, a to the second power, and then 3 to the third power, and a to the third power. There we go. Let's see. 2 to the second is 4. 3 to the third is 27, so I'm just going to put that out front. For our a's, remember we're multiplying the same base here, so 2 plus 3, we're adding here for the product rule, will be a to the 5th. And, oh geez, what's 4 times 27? Here's my scratch work. 8, 2, 10, 108. So this will be 108 a to the 5th. That is our final answer. Okay, down here, whenever you see a problem like this, there's a bunch of stuff and it's a fraction, it's in parentheses all raised to a power. Remember, we're going to basically use the power to a power rule. This 4 is going to be multiplied by every single exponent on the inside. The biggest thing people forget is the ones, right? Don't forget 2 has an exponent. All numbers, all values have an exponent. So we're going to take that 4 and multiply by the 1, the 2, the 3, and the 4. So on top we have 2 to the 4th. We have a to the 8th and b to the 12th. And on bottom we have c to the 16th. And again, 2 to the 4th, we know what that is. That is 16. So 16, a to the 8th, b to the 12th, all over c to the 16th. This is our final answer. There you go, that's 5.1. Let me know if you have any questions, and keep up the good work.